Hey everybody, welcome to another podcast. We have some really cool people with us today.
do.
These are some good friends of ours. The Himsels, Dr. Jared Himsel and Heidi Himsel. Thanks for coming in.
Hey.
You're welcome.
And we want to chat a little bit. I know we wanted to give just a little overview. We've known these guys for a while.
Oh my gosh, I wonder how long.
I was thinking church. I was trying to remember initially it was Curcio and then, but you know, it's been a while. And then you've adjusted us a bunch of times, which we love.
I think the first encounter was actually with you when you did a wellness fair over in
Oh my gosh.
Noblesville years
Yeah.
ago, and then
Dylan
Amy
Park?
I met her
wow.
that day, and then started to talk about her
Yes,
medical
and you
practice.
came to our practice.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So 2007, 2008?
I think that's
Long
about
time
time
ago.
frame. 7, give or take.
And I think the one thing that Amy was saying earlier, we love bringing in people that inspire us. And obviously you guys do that.
Oh,
So, you know, from a standpoint of, you know, we're on this holistic vision ourselves, and we know you guys are. And so that's another thing that we wanted to highlight, just this inspiration.
Yeah, I think it's also, as we were thinking about this, and it made so much sense to have you guys come in. We've been on this similar path together, I think, our practices. We were both kind of working in a more traditional model through insurance and trying to stay in the healthcare and live out our vision of this holistic approach to health. And then we both realized it was time to make a shift.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm excited for you guys to share that too
Sure.
as we go. And
well,
the
the
other thing I
spouse
think,
piece, right?
they-
we're
yeah,
we're,
working
we're
together
all
is-
working
Yeah,
together.
that's true. I know.
And, you know,
wearing many hats and
I'd love
carrying
to
on many
say
roles.
what at the end of that one week, we were like, we didn't even argue once this week, which doesn't happen every week. But it happened at least once.
Very
so far.
rarely.
And I think the other thing is you both really practice what you preach and you live out. To you, it's more than coming in for an adjustment, right? It's this
yeah.
lifestyle. It's really looking at all aspects of your health. So I won't jump ahead, but I think, you know, just you do both really inspire us as a couple, as parents, as professionals.
right?
So,
And we need more of that, I think, in the healthcare industry, like leaders that are truly about healing people. That's exciting.
Yeah, and live the way what they teach too.
Right.
And that's something we see a lot in the medical model. You'll see doctors telling people, "Oh, you have to lose weight," but they're also 300 pounds.
Right.
400
right.
pounds.
Yeah.
Not eating well. And yeah.
Yep, right.
Yeah, not
And we
taking
do
time.
I'm probably 80% of everything I tell people. I'm not
Maybe.
100%. I'm definitely not a
I-
purist, but I'm pretty
Definitely.
close. I'm getting there.
You had a pretty good ratio there. That's good.
I know, right?
80%.
80-20 rule.
It's a pretty good rule.
It's a
But-
rule we live by too.
Okay. Yeah, we know each other.
Yep.
We know how it is. So looking at it from a chiropractic standpoint, I mean, what got you into chiropractic?
It's a great question. I want to go back just for a
go
second
ahead.
because we are inspired by you guys as well. We have been for a long time. We know your kids. Obviously, Lucy is dear to our kids and our boys. They love her. I think they got one of the first. Andreas got one of the first smiles or something from
yeah.
As a
Lucy,
baby.
which is pretty cool. But I think that what
Because
I've been-
Lucy babysits
yeah, she does.
for the Himsels
That's right.
Yeah.
for a while now, years.
Oh, yeah.
We won't talk about our college choice on this podcast, but we will talk about everything else that makes her.
Oh, I know. Because we're Purdue fans.
Exactly. But that being said, it works both ways, right? The law of reciprocity. I think that we learned years ago. Some quote, whoever it was, said, you know, you're kind of the sum of the top 5 people you hang around with, and we have a pretty tight circle. We don't get out a lot because we just like our home life. But you know, when we get out, and we often are with you guys and doing things, and that's one of those people we say that we are inspired by and don't take us backwards. They elevate us, right? Which is super cool.
Thank you.
So that being said, now that I've given you brownie points, we'll go into
We'll take 'em.
the chiropractic, right? So it's a loaded question. For the sake of time, I'll try to keep it on point. But my chiropractic story really goes back, as I share at my workshops every month, our dinner workshops, to when I was hit by a car when I was 5. I got ran over by a truck. A lot of people don't recognize that. And the short version was I spent a little over a month in a hospital, 5 broken ribs, collapsed right lung, ear ripped off, all that good stuff. Survived, of course. And then it was through my childhood and starting to have a lot of allergies and sinus issues that we got tested for. We were not a chiropractic family, so we didn't go. We had no idea what it really was. But we got allergy tested. I did, and had allergies, so I started getting the shots every week. Got really tired of that, but it was every single week, twice a week, and then some inspiration came our way from my cousin who married a chiropractor, and we went down to Dallas one year to pick my sister up, who was nannying on a vacation, and we had been told that chiropractic might be able to help with sinuses and allergies, and just so happened my cousin married a chiropractor, Dr. Carl, and he took us into his office in Irving at the time, did an assessment, gave me my first adjustment, that whole popping thing, had no idea what the heck that was.
So good.
But that night at dinner, my brother-in-law, well, at the time wasn't my brother-in-law, future brother-in-law, passed a rose down to my mom, and I could literally smell a rose for the first time. And I didn't even know that the flowers had smell. True story. My mom loves flowers. If you know one thing about my mom, she's a flower nut. That was like my aha moment, that something really cool happened with chiropractic, and so it was always right there on my mind, and it inspired me as I went through high school and then did some interviews with some chiropractors and got to Purdue, and decided to graduate from Purdue and go right into chiropractic college. So that goes way back to a tragic incident, if you will,
I forgot about that.
Turned on my
How
chiropractic
amazing.
story.
Because, I mean, we grew up in high school. I guess we're fortunate that our parents were open to this, but we were both doing chiropractic in high school with
That's
sports
awesome.
and all that stuff.
know, isn't that
so it's been in
amazing?
our life forever.
Crazy. I mean, and we weren't that way when we grew up. Now, it became that way after that amazing adjustment I had down there. I was like, I'm going to go I went back to my hometown, obviously, in Jasper, and started getting chiropractic care, but that was the start of it.
That's neat.
And then you started this practice
2007.
Oh, that's when we started our wellness.
I know.
That's it. Which
When
is
we
why
moved
maybe
here.
we were finding each other in the Dillon Park, because it wasn't. It was maybe 08 that we did that. I forget the name of it. We called it something cool.
It was a wellness type fair, and another chiropractor buddy of mine actually said, "Hey, you want to come over and be a part of it?" We just joined together, and we went over and met a bunch of wellness-minded people. It's pretty cool.
It is.
No, it
Wow.
was a ton of fun.
And I think you've maybe share a little how your practice has evolved. And I guess your role too, Heidi, because you play many roles there.
I do.
From front office.
I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the
imaging, and you wear
doctors
many
are
hats.
important, but the non-doctor people,
Well,
I think, are
we
super
couldn't-
important.
We couldn't exist
More.
without
I don't
you.
know.
Yeah.
More.
Maybe.
More. I
Well,
know.
I'd say that I never grew up with chiropractic either. My parents were they were very holistic before holistic was cool. We never ate processed food, but they knew nothing about chiropractic, so I didn't have that experience until meeting Jared, and then I kind of received chiropractic that way, just from dating him and learning more about it. But it matched.
What year was that? Wasn't that a Dave Matthews concert?
2008.
No,
When
it
you
actually
got
wasn't.
married,
it was
you
in
mean, or
Nashville,
dated?
Tennessee,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So that would be 2008.
I think.
Eight,
Around
yep.
that
And
time.
then 11, we got married in 11.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, just chiropractic meshed with the way that I was raised, in a very holistic way. And so it's just a missing piece that I had never had. But as far as just working in the office, I was a teacher at the time that we met, even when we got married. And so I would work in the office during the summers. So I would help in that aspect in the front office. But yeah, we started off just like most people do with the insurance and with the insurance model and seeing patients for as long as their insurance dictated.
Yes.
Doesn't always correspond with health in the patient. We know.
Right. And that's where we saw too our patients had a huge disconnect. We always knew what we thought about what we knew about chiropractic and how it helped people, but the disconnect was that there was no education piece for the patient. So after their 12 visits were up for insurance, they would just split, but they didn't understand why they would keep coming back. And they were also allowing their insurance to dictate their care as well. So no matter how long it would take them to get better, they allow their insurance to tell them, oh, I only have 12 visits. I'm only using it for 12 visits. And then they would leave.
That was the norm for a while, right? And then that was our practice, and very successful practice for first 5 or 6 years, give or take. And then we had our turning point, right, which we openly shared. We talk about that too. We had a major audit we had to go through, and it was through the audit process that we uncovered really the technical rules of how insurance states it in their contract. And then I will throw this out there. I will just it can be my, my hypothesis. I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but a lot of doctors, chiropractors included, I don't think understand the guidelines. And they are guidelines and they're rules, and we don't set them, the insurance companies do. And the long story short, after an audit, we had to go through and make some payments back because there were services that the insurance dictated that were more of wellness-based services, not acute, which by definition, certain codes are acute codes. And if you're not billing, if you're not doing services that they deem to be acute, then it's not a covered entity. And that was a hard one for us because it was a substantial audit, and we had to go back and pay money back. But we learned, and we didn't make excuses. We said, okay, how can we learn from this? And I'll let her take this part over because it was at dinner one night, and all the stress of that for the time we had to go through all that. She made a comment to me, and I actually. One of our rare fights, right? So I actually kind of got mad. I was like, I don't know. And her comment was, why don't we go cash practice? And I was like, I don't know how to do that, right? Right. And she
he was like, you don't even know what you're asking.
and you're like, well, maybe.
Right. Well, what we learned in that process is 12 visits deemed by the insurance means 12 visits forever. I mean, it doesn't mean 12 visits every year, even though that's what people do. That's what we were doing. But when you get audited, they'll say, Jane Doe was here for 3 years. How is Jane Doe still in acute care every every January? So that's where you learn that, that's not what your insurance means. And it's a hard conversation to have with people because it's not the norm. Most doctors will run insurance year after year doing that. But it's the conversation, though, that we were missing in our practice. But once we've started having that conversation, it's an aha moment for the patient. But it's also that we also get the opportunity then to educate them on, well, this is why your insurance deems it this way, and this is why we practice the way we do. And we walk them through that wellness model.
Yes. And the bottom line is that the insurance really was like, I guess they call it like the tail that wags the dog, if you will, or whatever. It was steering the business model.
The
and
modality of care, which is not, at the end of the day, creating a holistic.
Exactly.
Right.
So we use 12 because 12 is the national average for chiropractic, and you get them every year, but are the visits considered medically necessary? So in theory, someone could have neck pain one year and you treat it for 12, and then the next year you have low back pain and you get 12 more visits, and new incidences, etc., would substantiate those 12 visits. But let's be honest, how many times is a new incident? So that's the background of it. But the reality of it is that what we were doing at home, like you guys, and that 80%, which we started this podcast off talking about, we were doing that, but we weren't enlightening our patients into how we got to that point in our lifestyle. And that was part of her conversation too. How can we take what we do in our house and take it to our practice and create this holistic wellness approach? And then, which is why we're here as well, find like-minded people and businesses to help us in that. We don't want to be the jack of all trades. We're extremely good at what we do, but we don't want to be the office that's like your one-stop shop. We believe in having other experts on our healthcare team outside of our practice.
And we love, when you say holistic and preventative, it's that, right? The fact that we realize that people need touch points, periodically. And if it's monthly or if it's whatever. And for some reason, this body loves to get tighter. The muscles want to get tight. Everything just wants to tighten up. And there's just not a lot of people that are stretching, that are helping with chiropractic to get all the skeletal system back in alignment,
nervous system,
and then to enjoy that highest quality of life possible. In the absence of that, there's always a stress, right? And then that can compound itself into dis-ease, right? And then disease. And that's what we're trying to keep people away from. And you guys are doing it, and we're doing it, and it's exciting. But to your point, it doesn't always get recognized in either the health system or the insurance company yet. I think, they're like a big cruise line, and they're slowly trying to maybe make change. The four of us said, you know what, we're going to jump on that jet ski and just head straight in the right direction.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
And our focus is the patients and their quality of life and their care, right? And that's, I think, novel and unique for what we're doing. I think most people want to do that,
Right.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing it.
Right.
Well, I think what you just said a few sentences ago, the dis-ease, and that is a really important way to state that word. And that's one of the first things that we learned as a principled chiropractor doing traditional principled chiropractic work is diseases are broken down into dis-ease. And that's one of the first principles that they teach you. Fundamental strong chiropractic is about understanding the body is made to be healthy. It's designed to be in a state of ease. It's when we, with our unnaturally stressful lifestyles and the toxic things we do to ourselves, put it in a state of dis-ease. And like Eric said, that leads to disease. So the beautiful thing is God-given health is within you. You need to unpack it and start doing lifestyle-based approaches to bring that body back into a state of ease, and it will work how our Creator told us it will work.
I love that. What is it, Amy? 37 billion chemical reactions in the body a
crazy.
second, right? I use it all the time because I absolutely love that, right? But it wants to be in homeostasis, which is ease, which is balance,
Yes.
right? And it goes to show you with all the chronic conditions we have today, how much out of balance there is.
Well, we're taught, I mean, our system as a physician, we're taught it's more sick care, right? And it's,
We're really good at
somebody
that.
comes to you with a problem and then we fix it. And so you go in with a problem. And so, or you go in, I think a lot of times people ignore the dis-ease that's going on. And so it keeps brewing and you don't even realize. So a lot of
Well,
what
let's just
we're
be honest.
doing
Us guys
is
wear badges
awareness.
that say, I don't have to go to the doctor.
Yep.
I don't go to the doctor. Actually, it's not I don't have to go to the doctor. It's like I don't go to the doctor. Maybe once a year.
Yes.
Right?
yeah,
And we wear
yeah.
that as a badge, and that is not a good setup for longevity,
I know.
where they ignore the dis-ease.
I agree.
Well, and I think too the way that the holistic health is changing. I think the way that humans are viewing doctors, if they're going to these holistic doctors, is also changing, because I think that as a holistic doctor, you're more of a life coach, right? You're not telling them, here, you take this, you'll feel better. It's this is what would help your body, or like, have you tried this or have you tried that? You're trying to work with them. They're taking responsibility for their body. You're not just giving them a prescription and tell them to pick it up and they'll feel better. Whereas like that's the traditional model, is that, you get a prescription, you take the pill, you feel better, end of story. There's no self-responsibility for the patient. But when you're working with the patient, like you're not just telling them what to do, but you're working together. I think there's a total different mindset of the patient takes responsibility, I guess.
And you guys do such a great job of educating the patients. I mean, there's a lot to learn about how the modality of chiropractic is impacting the body, right? All the way down to the system level, right? I mean, you can obviously skeletal, nervous system, that affects the organs and the whole body. And so I know you guys do an amazing job of educating patients on, okay, it's not just a manipulation of your spine. It is to get it back to where it needs to be, so that all these systems right in this area are positively impacted.
Even to the point where we'll correct a patient that says manipulation, because by definition, a principled chiropractor does an adjustment, which is specific.
Yes.
Well, it's okay, because that's part of our office. We have fun with it. An adjustment is very specific to where your body in your testing is showing your root cause, your subluxation level. You need to be very specific in those adjustments and leave the vertebrae alone that are already doing their job, and the body will set. Whereas a manipulation is more of a gross movement of an area of the spine, moving a lot of different joints, which will tend to stimulate pain release and feel better, I should say. You have the mechanoreceptors in our body that will actually block nociceptors or pain receptors, and that gives you that feeling of pain relief after any adjustment or even manipulation. But the correction, which is what we do of the spine and realigning it and showing you the data, occurs only if you set the root cause areas and you adjust those correctly.
I mean, talk about that. It is so cool, the science you guys bring into your patients.
The objective data,
It's
too.
so
when
objective.
We went in and got
Give
to
us a
see
high
all of
level on
that.
what that looks like. It's pretty cool.
We call it our 5-part assessment. In short, not everyone needs x-rays. The majority of people that come in will. It's a really important part is to see the actual structure. There's also a study called a core score, which gives you insight into the nervous system tension, which leads off to heat and thermal changes we can measure. And then we can see where those nerves go and where those organs are being affected. And then we have a muscle test that shows us how the muscles are actually holding the alignment or not, and where your current state is at. And then there's a stress test, which is really powerful, called HRV, heart rate variability. You're seeing more and more of like I watches and Whoop watches and things like that monitor that HRV. It's a very powerful tool to see if you're in a state of stress, known as fight or flight. And we know that chronic states of fight or flight leads to a lot of decreased energy, decreased production, sickness, disease, and then disease, right? So that's one of the tests. Then we look at bilateral balance, we look at posture, range of motion. All those come into our initial objective data. And then based upon that, we find out if the spine has misalignments and those subluxations, if they're related to their symptom or if they're wellness-based, how much of your body is in alignment and are you functioning at full capacity?
Yeah, that is so
It is amazing. I love that you do incorporate all of those, because the heart rate variability, in our holistic medical field model too, it's, people don't even realize that they're, Eric and I on our assessment, I think we were both a little bit in that little sympathetic overdrive. We were coming before our office and, we're starting to practice. And so we were kind of laughing at ourselves that you don't realize
well, and it's
that,
just even living with Amy sometimes can be stressful.
And, no, I'm not going there.
And
but,
Amy, you have a cakewalk.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So-
I'm so spoiled.
But the cool thing about that, when you look at what you do directly with yoga and then meditation and spiritual, just quietening of the body, you can take an HRV before a session. Let's say you did a weekend seminar with you, and you could even periodically throughout it, you could stop and redo that HRV and watch how fast quieting the mind, becoming center, getting closer to our creator will calm the body down, put it in a state of ease, and the HRV will change.
It's amazing.
Like right.
And you can reprogram your body to do it more naturally.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's so awesome that you incorporate that into the whole
Yes.
model. And you might speak to, you do in all ages and all, like you don't have to be an athlete or you don't have to be, a certain age. You do kids to older
We just had a colic
patients.
baby yesterday in our office. So she's 4 weeks, or he's 4 weeks old. Mom brought him in, and she was just getting herself her normal weekly adjustment and wellness-based care. And I asked if she would like me to check the youngster, and she said, well, yeah, I would love to, but can you help? And there was a little education moment. She said, is anything going on? And she mentioned constipation and some colicky, and we did a live filming of it. We brought him back, and I had my staff film it, and he's wailing on the video, and within like 30 seconds, we got him nice and quiet. And it's just about understanding that body and understanding how to turn that nervous system interference down. Happens on the spot, gives mom the biggest peace of mind. Her HRV would immediately have gone to like level.
For sure.
Of course, then you have that
She
all
would
the
have been
way
around 28 years ago when my first one was born.
all the way to like geriatrics,
Lucas.
right? It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter where you're at in life. I even have a gal coming in next week whose husband signed her up this week because she has rods in her back. And yes, if you have trauma to the spine, if you have rods, if you have fusions, it does not mean that corrective chiropractic cannot help you. We would do our assessment to tell you and then give you all of our honest feedback, and you could choose if we find we can help you, whether you want to start care.
So, one of our questions we wanted to propose is, what do you see as the future of chiropractic? But after talking, I feel like you are leading this path for the future, but you might comment on, kind of your vision and what you see.
Yeah. I'll speak and let Heidi speak too. First of all, the corrective chiropractic there's about 3% globally that still do this. It's not the norm, which is unfortunate.
Now, this is what you're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's even other offices that dial it up even more. They'll spend 35, 40, 50 minutes with the patient and very precise measurements. Awesome stuff. Totally corrective base. Handful of us locally that do it. So, we're definitely different. We actually will speak about that from the first and second visit. The patient comes in, we'll talk about what makes us different. We want them to know that. We are not your normal chiropractor. We're the weirdos, and we're okay with being the weirdos.
That's a good weirdo.
So, yeah, it's a good weirdo. That's how we feel. And if, quite frankly, if we're not the right fit for you, that's okay. It's okay to not say yes, right? But we do feel like if we're going to make a dent in this sick America, like you said earlier, sick care. It's so funny they call it health care, right? It's really sick care.
Right.
If they want you to stay sick to make money off you, which is so sad, you got to step out of that model and see it. But the future of health care is about taking back your body. And that's where we feel like principled chiropractors will need to be in the next 10 to 15 years. And let's just throw this out there. What happens if insurance the model doesn't sustain itself or it lasts? Then what's going to happen to your office? You've got to start thinking about that. Can I be independent of that model and truly teach what needs to happen? That's where I feel it needs to go, is principle-based corrective chiropractic care. And like you said, right, lifestyle changes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So Heidi, what do you think about the future of corrective chiropractic?
Well, I agree. I think that with the insurance model, the way that it's going, it doesn't look like it's going to be substantiated for the long-term future. And we do, as a healthcare community, you included, we all have to allow the patient to have the responsibility and take responsibility for it. And I think that's where the future of not only chiropractic but all healthcare is. That, like we often talk about in our office, we can't we can't fix, we can't adjust away bad habits. I mean, we can't adjust away your 3 times a week at McDonald's. We can't do that. Yep. You have to be responsible for your own health. And I think that's what's going to be the change of all healthcare in the future, is that the patient has to hold some responsibility for their health.
And you guys probably see this as well, because I know we do a lot of the lifestyle stuff here. And, even after a year of doing this, working with people and coaching them, sometimes it takes a year.
Yeah.
For them to finally, if we work with them long enough, there's an experience that they have that says, okay, when I do this, I feel this way, and when I do that, I feel that way, and I vote this way.
Yep.
And then they'll do more of that, and occasionally they'll do it that way, and then they're like, why do I do it that way?
Exactly.
And because our instincts are so powerful for sugar, salt,
Oh yeah,
pork fat. Well, we were at the fair the other day. We
yeah.
had some of that, but I don't do
That's
it every
part
day.
of your 20. Well, and I
But to
think
get
just being an
people-
American,
Yeah.
it is not, America does not make it easy to have a healthy lifestyle.
No.
Not yet.
And we talk about these 4 pillars. People get it. They get that they need to lower their stress. They need to eat better. They need to move. They need to sleep better. But how? How do they do it as an American? And I think that's what, we're both practices are taking the time out now. The word, the Latin word, the root of doctor is docere. I don't know if I said that right, but it's to teach.
Yeah.
And I think we really take that to heart, that is, we don't get paid through insurance to teach, though. So they don't
But we
pay
do
that.
it because it's the right
And so
thing to do.
that's why we had to
Both
step out of that
us.
model, because it's such a crucial part of care.
If you have a moral compass and an ethical compass, I think that the future leads to cash practice, because you can't follow a model that is not perfectly ethical. That's where I stand on it. And one of our good coaches put it this way: your practice members that come in to see you obviously will initially come in because they believe that you can help them. What you want to do is create a paradigm shift to where they understand their body in chiropractic. You don't want them to be believers but understanders. They will continue to pay you for your services, not to be their friend, but to be their accountability partner. And that's how we view our practice, is that we are accountability partners. And if we don't speak into those bad habits and call them on it, the McDonald's, etc., we are not doing our job. And that is literally just making a transaction for the sake of a transaction. We have to step in there and have those tough conversations. And that's what I do in my office. And some people aren't comfortable with that. It's not the right fit. That's okay. But someone has to step in and hold them accountable to their bad habits and continue to check in on them.
And I love what you're saying there, Jared, because I think we're seeing it in both of our practices, which is the patients are voting for this kind of care.
Yes.
And I look at when we turned this thing on a year ago and how many people we've brought on in that short period of time. We've lost just maybe 3 people.
Right.
It's
awesome.
unbelievable.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's just they get in and they're like, well, yeah, why would I? I mean, I just heard this all week,
Yeah.
right? Because I do a lot of the coaching is, well, yeah, we're going nowhere.
Right. Right.
We're here forever. And because it works.
Yep.
It works in a profound way. And I think it also is helping people to realize how good they can feel. I think there's a lot of people, definitely in our country, that is walking around going, yeah, this is how mom felt, or this is how dad was always this way.
Just
at
getting
this age.
older.
And yeah, it's just
Yeah,
part of
this
aging.
is just
and
part of aging.
our goal is to
Yeah.
help, and you guys I know as well, to help people to live to be 120.
Yes.
Because our health system is going to keep you alive that long. So what kind of quality of life do you want at 120? And the four of us are gearing up so that one day they just don't wake up. Their quality of life is as good as it can get all the
Our
way to
health
the
span
end,
and
and that's what we
lifespan,
do.
Yep. Are the
A
same.
really good job of.
Yeah, and I think when you say that your patients are staying, and the reason for that is because I think they're making up for lost time. I mean, it's amazing how many patients we run into that they're a generation or two of people that ate out of boxes, instant meals or drive-throughs their entire life. So when they walk through your doors and they hear this for the first time, that they can live well, they can feel well, and that the sky's the limit really for them. That is good news, and that's what I think everyone's been craving. But because they've been living in such a sick way for so long, they have to stick with you because they don't know any other way. But you're the one that's guiding them. You're not telling them what to do, but you're guiding them, and they finally found a doctor that can help them, truly help them.
Right.
It's a cause effect, right? I mean, you're helping them understand that every choice they make has an effect, right? So what are the choices you're making? Let's look at those and let's talk about them, right? And in our office, we like to give them some of the bad habit categories, which really comes down to the three types of stress: physical, chemical, emotional. Sometimes they're called thoughts, toxins, traumas. The same thing. Those categories have deep legs. Find out which of the legs or which one area that your biggest bad habit is in right now, and let's go work on that one first. Yeah. Because trying to work on 6 or 7 is complicated and messy. Let's focus on simplicity.
Yeah. And show them the pathway, and then they're like, well, I can do that again.
Yeah.
And then again, and again, and again. Next thing you know, there's a conversion,
Yeah.
right, into this new lifestyle.
We call that a ritual. Right?
Yeah.
So routine is the things everybody already doing. You're going to the bathroom every morning, coffee, breakfast, blah, blah, blah. It's when you put a ritual into your life and you intentionally change something to get a desired outcome. And I heard a coach say this one time too: if you're stuck in a rut in your life, he said, change your physiology, something physically that you're doing to change your psychology. So one of the things I teach our patients is just wake up 10 minutes earlier. And like you and I did years ago, start with some prayer, some meditation.
Right.
Start with warming that body up versus going to that cell phone right away, or the news, all those toxic things that are out there. As a ritual.
Love that. Yeah. Well, and I love just watching. I know as physicians and just healthcare professionals, the quality of our life, because we're really, it's so much more fulfilling. We're impacting people. Like you said, we're partnering, and it's really fun to watch you and just see how happy you both are. And I mean, sitting in your waiting room too, I just love.
I know.
Ran into somebody, like a daughter of an old friend of mine, and
awesome.
just hearing all the wonderful things she had to say. And I mean, like her headaches were gone for the first time in her life,
People
and
live with this.
and we hear this over and over. So
Right.
it's really awesome. You're really impacting people, and
Thank you.
we love having you on here. And
Amen. We
The
love
same
it.
to you,
helping others
too.
learn about you and why you inspire us
How
so
do people
much.
get a hold of you guys?
There's a couple ways, right? So, Heidi, you can list some, or I can just say our address. We are in Fishers, so we're off 116th and just down the road from Brook School Road. Our physical address is 12242 East 116th Street. We're Suite 100. You can also text or call our office, 317-773-7820. But the best way for someone who's maybe a skeptic, thinks chiropractors are weirdos, quacks, I don't care what you call us. We really don't. We're super cool. Is to come to our dinner workop. We do our dinner workshop
that's
once a
right.
month. We happen to have them set up, typically right now they're at Stone Creek every month, but if it changes, the manner in which you come does not. You can text the word dinner to our office number 317-773-7820, and our
That's
team will
great.
reach out and get you rocking.
And your name is actually
Yeah, Vital Connection.
Vital
Yep.
Chiropractic.
Yeah. Thank you. Vital Connection Chiropractic, and
Is it a website?
Yeah, you can just Google Vital Connection Chiropractic. It pulls it right up.
you
We're
go.
also on Facebook, Instagram.
yep,
Good. Awesome.
for sure.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us.
Thanks for having
Coming
us.
in. Thank you for participating in this podcast this week. We are looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. Take care.